Oh. Literally just got back from pond hockey, and I am absolutely gassed. Yeah. Anywho, let's shoot this thing. Right, we're out on the pond here. Say hi to Andre. Okay, yeah. Say hi to Johnny. Woo! And say hi to Aiden. Woo! Welcome to episode. Shit! Welcome to episode number 7 of Let's Talk. Let's go! It's so cold outside! Hey guys, Marco here, and as the video just said, welcome to episode number 7 of Let's Talk. It is so cold right now in Canada. It is ridiculously cold. For the past few days it's actually been. And today playing pond hockey was probably not the best idea, but you know, boys will be boys. What can you do? That's enough about me though. How are you guys doing? I hope you're doing well. You guys have been showing so much love and support for the channel as of late. You guys loved the short film Athlete Unknown, which honestly, thank you so much. Again, means a lot to me. And then you showed a lot of love and a lot of support behind the review, I guess, kind of reacting to the short film from Johnny and I. You guys loved it. It was so much fun to make. It was kind of, I've never done something like that in terms of reacting to something. I've always wanted to. So it's kind of dipping my feet in the water, and I had so much fun with it. So maybe we'll do some more later on in just terms of reacting to whether it be older short films, just random stuff I'll see, or just, I don't know, I've always had this idea of just kind of doing commentary tracks in terms of like watching a really shitty movie or something along those lines and just kind of speaking to you guys about it. And I don't know, maybe it's something I can play with in the future, but right now I'm overwhelmed by the support that you guys are giving, so thank you so much. As for this week's episode, we're not talking about short films, we're not talking about anything like that. Well, I guess technically we are, but the topic of today's episode is kind of a question a lot of people in the industry, the film and creative industry, I guess, ask themselves on a daily basis. I know I do. That question is good ever good enough? Or, you know, how far does it have to take in order to get to a level where you think it's good enough? Because being in this industry, I've learned something that I'm glad I learned it now, because if I realize it 20 years down the road, it's gonna, boom, like, it's gonna be a culture shock, but that nothing you make is ever gonna be perfect. So, you know, you've just got to accept that and realize this is the best product that I can put at this point. Yeah, if I look at it a year down the road, I'll say, hey, I wanted to change all this stuff. But that's besides the point. It's gone, it's done, it's dusted. But the reason, you know, I'm bringing this topic up is because as of late in school, we had a narrative assignment where we had to make like a little short film just showcasing kind of a storyline, right? And due to scheduling issues and everything along those lines, I had to scrap my original idea and come up with something rather quick, which... Not to toot my own horn here, I've been doing a lot as of late in terms of just coming up with really quick ideas and going from there. And I think I do a pretty good job at it, but you know, not to toot my own horn or anything along those lines. But anywho, this short narrative, whatever you want to call it, I had to kind of take it as a one-man band, as in directing, starring, acting, just because schedules with other crew members and, you know, friends didn't line up well, so I just kind of had to go for it. Luckily, I had my sister to help me with a few shots that I needed her for, so I'm thankful for that. But I just kind of wanted to talk about my experience during that and realizing that, you know, to get to the point of the story here is that I finished editing it, I handed it in, my teacher enjoyed it, but myself, I look at it and I say, with the resources and the time and the stress of putting it together being put in the back of my mind, I think it turned out pretty well. But take all of that aside and get rid of all those excuses or whatever you want to say, and I think it was just good. Like, it was fine. Like, it was functional. And that's ultimately where the question today and the topic kind of starts, is that if you're ever creating a video or, you know, editing photos or anything along those lines, any creative thing, you can apply to people painting, people, whatever, like murals, anything along those lines, sculptures, pottery, I don't know, I just do photo and video, so I'm just going to talk about that. But there have been so many photos or so many videos that I've gone through, maybe a little bit more in terms of photos, where I've edited them and I look at them on my screen here editing, and I'm like, oh, that looks awesome. I'll let it sit for a few days, and I'll be like, huh, there's a little speck there, and I'm never happy with this, so I'll fix this, okay? Then I'll bring this into Photoshop. I'll adjust it again, and it's just like, it's never perfect. And that's what I'm trying to prove here. And honestly, one of the best ways I can put it is I was sitting in school, I guess in between classes during a little break, and I was editing photos on my computer, and one of my buddies sits next to me and says, Marco, these photos are awesome. Why aren't you uploading these on Instagram or whatever? And there's always that thought in the back of my mind saying, I should. Like, Marco, post more. I've always wanted to. That's kind of my New Year's resolution, is to post more stuff. But there's me, the harsh critic that I am to myself. You know, the saying, you know, you're your own harshest critic. Couldn't be proven more on myself. I'm so hard on myself all the time. And maybe that's just a downfall of everyone in the creative industry, is that you know it's never going to be perfect. So accept that you did a really good job, and that you're never going to be fully happy with it. Because you come back in a few days after an edit and you'll be like, oh, I would change that. And then you change that, and then you come back in another few days or another year or another month, and you're like, oh, I would change that. Just the way your mind changes, you grow as a creative, and you grow as an individual as well, and you can never balance the two worlds. So I think by making that short film for school, not only taught me something about this topic as a whole, but taught me something about myself. Yes, it's that perfection can never be fully achieved in the creative industry, because everyone's got their own opinion. You're never going to satisfy all parties. So just do your best to satisfy yourself and with the circumstances and the scenario that you're in. But one other thing that I learned from this assignment that I didn't really expect to learn was that the whole process, the more layers you add on it in terms of, you know, devoting yourself to these layers, the tougher it's going to be. And you may say, like, obviously that's going to be the case, but there was me thinking, hey, I can do all this by myself. I can maneuver every single shot, every single word of dialogue the way I like it. And for the most part, I think it turned out really well. But, you know, with all these layers added on, I don't think you should look at the final product and solely base your success upon that. For me, I think what I learned most about this assignment was just how much I can do. And I actually surprised myself in terms of how much I can do, in terms of, this was like the first short film I've ever done on by myself. And in terms of making a narrative arc within very limited time, editing all that, making sure the acting is good. You know how great I am at acting. But making sure that all these pieces fell into place, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty proud of myself. And although that final product may not have been what I wanted in terms of entertainment and in terms of fast pacing that I thought it was gonna be when I wrote it and when I was shooting, that's just something you've got to accept. And accept that, hey, I've done the best that I can do in those scenarios or this situation. I've learned from it. I've grown from it. I can acknowledge this, and then apply that to everything you do, you know, carrying on with all your work. Honestly, that's all you can really ask from yourself too. And I think all of this, like, if I were to summarize all of this into kind of one scenario or one phrase, it comes from a YouTuber that I'm sure most of you guys know, Casey Neistat, one of my favorites. There was a video where he was grabbing B-roll just around the streets of New York, and he had mentioned something that really stuck with me as I've been making videos or taking photos as of the past year or so. What he said, paraphrasing of course, I don't remember the quote exactly, was that I would much rather take 5 good shots or 5 good video clips than one perfect one. And ultimately you can interpret this a bunch of different ways in terms of that one perfect one. You're never gonna get the perfect shot. It's, again, you'll never fully be happy with it right now, or 10 years down the road, you're going to look at it and say, oh, I wish I would improve that. So don't be chasing, or at least what I took from this, and I think what most people took from his quote or his phrase, is that don't be chasing something that you know can't happen, or you know that's, you know, so unachievable. And even if you do achieve that perfect shot, it's only one shot, it's one take. At least if you have 5 good or 5 great or 5 decent even shots, you can bring them together to make a story. So at at the end of the day, it's all about feeding that beast, that story, that, you know, the reason we make videos. And one decent shot shouldn't override the entire process and shouldn't get you so worked up in terms of, oh, I can't handle this, like this isn't perfect. Obviously it's not. I'm sure many directors, even like out in the Hollywood business, would look back at a film and say, hey, I wish I could have done that better, or I wish I would have taken that now or tackled it now. It's never going to get to that point. So, you know, it's about creating what you have with the resources you have, doing the best job you can there, and then learning from it, and then doing again, rinsing and repeating. And that's kind of what I'm trying to preach here, and what I'm trying to preach to myself and learn to myself. In terms of, you know, style over substance, I could go on for another episode about that, so I'll save that debate for another time. But as for now, for all fellow filmmakers out there, I'm looking to you guys for this. Even if something doesn't turn out the way you want, or the way you thought it would be, try to learn from it. Not the final product sometimes, or sometimes it may be and you say, oh, that sucked. This is why it didn't work. Let me do that again. But learn from the process as well, in terms of filmmaking, in terms of techniques. Oh, this shot didn't work. This technique, maybe I could communicate that better to my actors or my crew. There's always learning in everything you do. So learn from everything, make mistakes so you can, and that way your okay or your decent films, your photos, will make you a better filmmaker down the road. That sounded a little preachy at the end, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm gonna roll with it. Just because 20 years down the road, if I get famous, it's like, oh, Marco Pereira once said this, and we can quote this on his Wikipedia, so I want people to remember me in a good way. But yeah, that's just something that came into my mind. That's what this series, what Let's Talk is all about. It's just whatever comes to my mind, whatever happened in the last week or so, let me talk to you guys about it, share my thoughts, and see if you guys think the same way. I know there's a bunch of aspiring filmmakers watching this, so let me know what you think in terms of what I talked about, in terms of if you want more of just my rambles going on in the future. Now that we're done on the topic itself, you guys know the drill. You guys leave your comments. I answer them. Let's go. First question comes from Julia. She asks, why didn't you do volleyball SMH? It was written all in caps, so I kind of had to yell that. So this is in response to my latest short film, Athlete Unknown, which kind of ties together all these sports, shows the interconnectivity amongst them, and kind of transitions in a cool way between all of them. And originally, my original script, my original draft, all the sports that I wanted, volleyball was in there. But ultimately, the reason I cut it, or cut the idea, we didn't even shoot it, was just the logistics behind it. All the other sports that we shot, we had, one, the gear for it, in terms of like the equipment you would use, and two, a location for it. Volleyball, we didn't have either. So ultimately came to, A, do we want to shoot a volleyball scene with, you know, a foam soccer ball and a cardboard box as the net and kind of make it look so cheap? Maybe, like, think about it now, it could have been funny, but I don't think it would have meshed with the tone of the movie at all. So I just ultimately decided to scrap it, saying this is not going to work. So that's kind of the long story. Short story is, Julia, you weren't there to help us film. We can't do a volleyball scene without the star herself. So sorry, sweetheart. Karate Guru, aka my friend Greg, asks Johnny in particular, so is it Gunners, Barca, or PSG? Pick one, little boy. So this is in reference to our reaction video behind it, because Johnny, again, I'll kind of recap quick here. Johnny has a bunch of different soccer jerseys. Barcelona was one. Arsenal was the one he wore in the short film. Barcelona one was the one he wore when we were, you know, here reacting to it. And the PSG one, he has a Zlatan one. Like, everyone's gonna have a Zlatan jersey. So I'm going to phone him quick, see if he's available, just so he can answer. I'm gonna... Should I Google Duo him? I'm gonna Google Duo him. Hopefully he's not in class. We're gonna see what happens here. I'm phoning him right here. Can you guys see that? I think he's in class. I don't think this is gonna work, guys. Come on. Come on. Come on, answer, Johnny. You know, I paid him big bucks for this short film, and to treat me like this after I made him a star, it's very rude. Very disrespectful from him. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna answer, guys. Should I phone him again? Should I text him? What should I do? What should I do? Hey, I got a new follower on Letterboxd. Booyah. I'll take that. Thank you very much. Alright, guys, he's not answering. I wanted him to answer really badly. What do I do now then? What do I do? I planned on him being able to answer. Oh no. So I think that wraps up this week's episode of Let's Talk. As always, thank you guys for watching. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. Pleasure letting my rambles let loose, and thank you for watching them and interacting on them with me. Let's keep the conversation going in the YouTube comments. Ask me questions. Let me know however you're doing. Anything along those lines. Also, hit me up on Instagram at @TheMarcoPereira. Again, after the kind of preachy message on this video, I want to be posting more on there, and I'm going to keep trying to do that on there. So follow me there. Show me some love. Show me support. Yeah. I think that's it. Looking at my notes here, I think we're good. So as always, I'm Marco Pereira, and until next time, ciao for now. I'll say this though, it is nice being able to say my outro without Johnny interrupting me from last week. Hopefully you enjoyed the guest, honestly. Thinking about doing more of those. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Okay, bye-bye.